Mika, and you can download and enjoy all my music at Navermusic. Check it out. All the new stuff is there, including my new album, The Boy Who Knew Too Much, and my new single, We Are Golden. I get inspiration from comic books. I get inspiration from television. The trashier the television, the better. So, television where people are talking about their problems, I find fascinating because you can write about stuff like that. I get television. I don't know how to drive. Right? So I just walk around the city in London where I live, and because I walk all the time, I'm always kind of looking around. Whenever I get a good idea, I write it down in a little notebook and I put it back into my jacket pocket. So I'm always looking for ideas everywhere. For this new album, I found a lot of inspiration in Disney soundtracks from the 1950s and 1940s. I just find them really kind of amazing, and I'm a big anime fan. So there's a big kind of comic book thing that goes through my music. I think because, to me, pop songs and comic books are very similar. They're very kind of immediate forms of art, and I don't know, they function in the same way for me. So a bit from everywhere, a little bit from clothes, and I have to be honest that sometimes the really kind of very big, famous works of art that you may come across in a museum are often more intimidating than they are inspiring. So I like to find inspiration in small things. I think, to me, that music cannot exist on its own. You have to have the visual side of it. You have to have the style side of it. Not fashion, but the style. To me, fashion is horrible, but style is amazing. Fashion is about money and about selling advertising and perfume. And style is about wearing the cheapest thing mixed with the most expensive thing, doing whatever you want in order to make yourself feel kind of good. This is a jacket that my mother made me. This is a t-shirt that I got from a Belgian designer. And these jeans are from Gap, and I got them on sale for $14. So it's a mix, you know. You can't really say, you know, just because it's expensive that it's good, because then you end up looking more like a credit card than like yourself, and that sucks, really. So there's clothes, there's everything, then there's the theatrical side. So in my live shows, which I hope to be bringing to Asia and to Korea in 2010, we use projection and film, we use puppetry, we use dance, we use absolutely everything to give a live show that's like a complete experience of every type of art. Going back to the question about where I find inspiration often in dance shows that I go to see, or in light shows, or in theater. Anything that makes you feel something. It's important to look at everything, not just the music, because it's boring, you know. And when you live on the road, you want to play with as many things as you possibly can. If I wasn't doing music, I would probably be in some sort of illustration or graphic design, and maybe like, you know, I'm always fascinated with people who like design the pack of a spaghetti pack or a noodle pack, or like the wrapping that candy comes in, or the way a teapot looks. Like, there's people who design every single thing you ever see in life, and I find that really fascinating. But to tell you the truth, I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't doing music, because really, all I really know how to do is write a song and sing it. Everything else comes around that. My mother always told me when I was younger, at the age of 14, she looked at me and she said she was really angry with me one day because I had gone out all night and I was in a state the next morning. And she looks at me and she goes, my school was going really badly, but music was okay. But still, she looks at me and she goes, you will either end up dead or in jail, or you'll be famous. So you decide which one. And she slammed the door and she walked out.
You decide music?
Well, it made me think, well, if I'm either going to end up in a pretty dark place or end up doing music and have to do it really well, if I'm going to do music, I better do it well. Because, you know, I suppose my life always has gone in extremes, and it's either really good or really bad. And so I was just like, well, I better make this good, otherwise, what am I going to do? And I threw everything that I had into it. I remember when I was sending out my demos, I didn't just send out my demos in a little envelope or like a white label CD. Me and my sister set up a workshop in the basement of our house, and we made all these folders and boxes and bits of hand-painted art that would come out in these unfolding kind of packages. So it was like full of, and they were all tied with ribbons and sealed with wax, and it was like a whole art box that you got, and it was with my name and my face on the front of it, and then you had to untie the whole thing and everything popped out, and at the center of it all was a CD with my songs on it. And that's how I presented my demos, and we did that for £112. £112 and 58 pence we had, because we had borrowed money from our parents to do it. And that's what people got on their desk. And so when these record company got this demo package, they were like, what is this? Like, who's behind this? It looks like there's $1 million behind this, but actually it was all completely, you know, homemade. But we never told anybody that. We just pretended like we were big stars from the beginning. I was like, I'm going to pretend like I'm a star from the beginning, and maybe I'll fool somebody to believe me, and maybe they'll pay for making my record. I love pop artists who are kind of, I don't know, artists that have the unique vision and were never embarrassed to be pop. So I love George Michael, I love Prince, I love David Bowie, I like Madonna, I like Harry Nilsson, who was actually the person I've stolen the most from in my entire life. I mean, he was the favorite songwriter of the Beatles. This crazy man who wrote amazing songs. I like Disney soundtracks. I like Warner Brothers cartoon soundtracks. I like so much, and I like a lot of classical music too. So anything that makes me feel good. I'm not a snob. That's the biggest thing. And I'm not a snob about music, whether it's considered good or considered bad. If it makes me happy, then I'll support it all the way, even if everyone thinks it's terrible. I would say it's an honor to be compared to Freddie Mercury. I think I don't think I'm, you know, his second coming, and in no way tried to be like that. And to tell you the truth, that's a massive pressure which I don't really want to undertake, and I wouldn't. And that's the reason why I know Brian May, but we've never done a gig together, and we've never sung a Queen song together. We've never even mentioned it to each other because there's no point. But it's always good to be compared to people you like. That's the thing. Imagine if you're being compared to people you hate, then that's a bad thing. I guess the one thing that gets me through is that I am not afraid to do whatever I want with my music. I'm not afraid on one song to have something that sounds like a dance song from the 80s, and something that sounds like a Disney song, and something, you know, I'm not afraid to play around and paint as crazy a world as I possibly can. I was never born out of a scene, out of a trend or a sound. I was always too I always say this, but I was always too pop for the indie crowd, even though I made and recorded all my own music. And I was always too weird for the pop people. So I had to find my own place. And in finding my own place, I also gained a lot of freedom as to what I am allowed to do. And that's the best position you want to be in, you know, as an artist. So I just believe in not being a snob. That's the most important thing. And I guess throughout my life, music has always been the thing that's given me some sort of value. And if you look at the song We Are Golden, it talks about exactly that. When I was younger, I had this, I felt like an outsider, I felt like a bit of a loner, but it was always my music that made me feel like, you know, I was worth something. So nothing's really changed. You may be 16 or 26, but the truth of it is, the only thing that changes is the way your face looks. And that's the way you want to keep it. Because as soon as you start to change in here, then you're screwed. I like working in the UK because people are allowed to do what they want, as in terms of, you know, writing whatever kind of music they want, and it's just kind of like and also people are tough with each other in the UK. It's not like, I don't know, there's this weird thing in America, people are a little bit more like, it's different. I find it harder to write. That's why I've never written anything in Los Angeles, but I've written most of this album in London. It's a very there's a lot of counterculture in London. You just have to find it. And counterculture is always where mainstream culture comes from. You never get something that's mainstream without it coming from something slightly underneath the mainstream. And that's why London is good. My life is what I do. I have nothing left but what I do. I have nothing left but my songs and my shows. And that's a terrifying thought, But I realized that at the age of 19, I was like, I've nothing left apart from what I do. So I grab it by the horns, and I'm like, I'm going to work with, I've actually formed a collective of artists, designers, other musicians that I like to work with, set builders, clothes makers, fashion designers, all these people who form my little club. And between all of us, we make the videos, the shows, and everything. And it's really fun because I have access to all the most talented people in the world. And that gives you this sort of energy where you're like, anything is possible. Even if people think you're insane, which they do pretty much every single day, and they think you're deluded, you still know that it's actually, there's always a good chance that it can come true. That's an amazing position to be in. So my life is busy, and I go from working with illustrators on a weird, animation project that I'm working on, to working with set designers for this crazy live show that I'm putting together for 2010, to working with the shoe designer Christian Louboutin for like men's shoes and stuff like that. And it's fun, and I just bounce around all these things, and it's busy, and I wish there were more hours in the day, and sometimes I don't sleep enough, but I love what I do. Hi, this is Mika, and I want to send out a message to all my Korean fans. Thank you so much for the amazing support. I'm really looking forward to coming and playing live for you in Korea in 2010. And check out the new album, The Boy Who Knew Too Much, and the video for We Are Golden. I hope you like it, and let us know what you think. And Twitter me on Mika Sounds, MIKASOUNDS, or send me a message on my website at mikasounds.com, and I read pretty much all of them, so give it a shot. All my love, and until 2010, I hope you like the new music.